It's raining some serious cash here at Fox Business today. And while it may not look like a whole lot of dough, this pile of bills is worth several $1,000,000, making it the rarest, most valuable U.S. dollar bills collection on the planet. And it's about to be auctioned off by one of the oldest, most respected auction houses in America, Stack Bowers Gallery. And their vice president joins me now. So first, Vicken, tell me what we got here on the table. I know it's not the full collection.
Sure. It's only 9 notes out of about 240 pieces in the Joel R. Anderson collection, and it is going to be the most valuable collection ever auctioned. The entirety of the collection in excess of $30 million. What we're looking at in these 9 notes, in excess of $10 million.
$10 million right here.
We brought out the big guns for you guys.
Yeah. All right, so let's walk me through some of the
Sure.
higher price items.
Sure. These are all what we call large size U.S. banknotes. They started in the 1860s. That's when the U.S. government got into the currency business in a big way. Civil War going on. They needed to finance it. They were scrambling to figure out how, and this is where it begins. Actually, this note here is a $500 bill called an interest-bearing note. It's unique in private hands. It was issued to finance the Civil War. That note there is one of the lower value pieces among these 9, $300,000 to $400,000 at auction. And again, unique in private hands. I believe there's one in one of the Federal Reserve banks, which is canceled. This is an uncanceled note, making it special to collectors.
Wow, and some of these dollar bills, the U.S. government doesn't even have a copy.
Exactly. They were never in the business of collecting. They were always in the business of issuing these things. So whatever they happen to have is happenstance. Someone either donated it to the Smithsonian, say, or it was just saved out of circulation at some Federal Reserve bank. So, you know, what's out there is out there, and they're not making more.
Yeah, so the owner, Joel Anderson, why does he want to sell now?
Good question. You know, in our business, collecting numismatic objects, a lot of it is the thrill of the hunt. So his collection is the best collection out there. It is the finest quality. It's the most complete. He tried to get one of each major design produced by the U.S. government in these large format bills. And he's so advanced it sometimes ceases to become fun when you can't add to it. So you reach this, you hit this brick wall, and you say, well, maybe it's time to sell.
Now, how did he find some of these? Where do you search for these?
Many different things, many different venues. You know, he found some of them through auctions like our own, some of them from private collectors, some of them from private dealers. So when you start buying notes of this caliber, you know, you tend to attract some attention. So one note begets another. So they start coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah. So tell me this. I know that there's one here that's the most expensive. Can
Sure.
you just point that one out?
Front and center here. It's an 1891.
Right here.
Sure.
And how much is this one?
We're estimating it in our catalog. This one's in one of our future auctions later this year, $2 to $3 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
So just that.
Absolutely unique. There's one in the Smithsonian, the serial number 1 note, and this is the only other one. And what's cool about this is not only is it a high denomination note, $1,000 bill, but that particular design on the front and back, it's not seen on any other currency of the United States. So whoever has this one has the only one that will ever be available to any private individual.
Yeah. So we actually have a viewer question. So take us back to the history
Sure.
about how it all started, you know, how it's changed over the years and things like that.
Sure. You know, today in our pockets, just fast forwarding, and we have.
We do have one. This just to compare.
Sure. And this is what we call the small size currency, which has been in production since the late 1920s. You know, historically,
You look at this
all
size.
these currencies started to finance the Civil War in the 1860s, and there was a series of different kinds of bills, the interest-bearing notes, demand notes, which we don't have any here today, legal tender notes, some of which we have later notes in that series here. They were produced to finance the Civil War. So each time a new type of note was created, it was for a specific purpose. We have some silver certificates here which were backed by silver dollars that were in government vaults. So there was always an obligation on the notes that would say what you could use a note for, what it was good for, what you couldn't use it for. And believe it or not, $1,000 bill or a dollar bill wasn't always equal to a dollar bill. In that 1860s, 1870s time period, it would take a lot more paper money to buy a dollar of gold, say.
Yeah.
So there was a discount to some of these notes. So you'd have to, the legal tender notes, for example, they were severely discounted. So it would take a lot more legal tender notes to buy an equivalent amount of gold. And gold didn't equal paper money until later in the 1870s when the whole situation stabilized.
Yeah.
Post-Civil War.
So could I, if I had this, could I use this today? Could I shop with?
Absolutely. It's the U.S. is one of those rare countries in the world where basically everything that it's ever produced, coins and banknotes, is still perfectly negotiable in commerce. You'd be kind of crazy to do so. That note that you're holding there is worth in excess of $1 million.
$1 million.
Very cool. This was, a lot of us in this business started collecting and dealing when we were really young. This is the note that everyone, when they're young, knows. If you turn it over, Jade, they call this the grand watermelon note. Grand, obviously, for the denomination, $1,000, but the watermelon, because the zeros look like watermelons when you hold them on their side. And this actually brings us into some of the artistry involved in these notes. All these early notes, the designs were created by hand into steel plates.
Wow. The
detail is amazing. I don't know how close we can get in there, but the patterns, the spirals, the cycloidals, the shading, it's just really incredible what they did in the 19th and early 20th century for security printing, and a lot of that has gone away as stock certificates have gone away. Everything is electronic. We're fast moving towards electronic currencies and less cash in our pockets today. So this is kind of the golden era of banknote engraving, security engraving, and these are amazing examples of that artistry.
And now, who are some of the people on the notes?
Some of them are minor characters. Even I had to look them up because you don't get to handle notes like this every day. This is a once in a lifetime thing for me. But you have big characters in finance on these two notes here, which were early notes issued in the Civil War era. Those are you have the 1863 $500 note on my right and an 1863 $1,000 bill. This one has Robert Morris, the financier of the American Revolution, as he's called. On the note, on the $500 note, you have Albert Gallatin, an early Secretary of the Treasury, I think starting in Jefferson's tenure. So a lot of them are historically or financially related. You have on the note that we were just holding up, the grand watermelon note, the $1890 $1,000 Treasury note. You have General Meade, who repulsed General Lee at the Battle of Gettysburg. So they were taking historical and financial personalities that were important in the 19th century a lot of the time.
Yeah, and if you're just joining us now, this is the most valuable U.S. print money collection in the world, on the planet.
It is. These 9 notes worth in excess of $10 million. The entire collection of 240 notes worth in excess of $30 million.
Yeah, and there is security behind here to watch any funny business.
Oh yeah, we're watching you, Jade.
Yeah, I know. Ooh, there we go. So who in the world is buying this stuff?
Good question. You've got longtime collectors who have been at this, as I said, from the time that there were kids. You have people who have started out as collectors young, went and made their fortunes and are coming back to it later in life in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and collecting at the top end here. You have more and more people overseas collecting U.S. currencies, both paper as well as coins. I mean, China, we opened up offices in Hong Kong to cater to Chinese collectors in Chinese coins, and we're slowly expanding into other categories as we see the interests change. So it's constantly changing. What was popular in coin collecting and paper money collecting back when these notes were being printed is way different than what's popular today. So we just see the rise and fall of different categories in our business.
Yeah, so you're going to have 4 auctions. When's the first one kick off?
The first one is next week. There's a big coin show in Baltimore that we're the official auctioneer of. So The first 60 notes or so will be offered next week, next Friday, I believe, next Thursday actually, the 22nd at that auction. It's actually going to be 3 auctions now, and in Philadelphia in the summer, and then again in Baltimore in November.
Yeah.
So these notes, which have been in one collection for the better part of a decade or two, will then be dispersed to all the new owners, and it's part of the cycle.
Great. And so no one is going to buy the whole collection?
These days, I'm sure there are people out there that could, but generally, when you're dealing with something like this, there are people that want specific notes.
Yeah.
They might want, the trophy note, the 1891 $1,000 silver certificate, or they might only collect one series or one denomination. So there's going to be pockets of people who want individual notes. Very rare to find someone who wants to take on the whole project, because collecting is a very unique and personal thing. So each person envisions their collection differently.
Do you see a lot more international buyers as opposed to U.S. based?
More and more, yes, but it's always been a very international business. You've just had an ebb and flow of different elements of the market coming in and out. For U.S. currency, it's been very domestic. Just by the nature of it, it's very rare. It's not gold or silver, so there isn't that international appeal of that. But we see more and more people looking at these high-end notes, just across the board, just high-end collectibles in general. That's what makes the headlines. That's what more and more people are into and collecting these days. Yeah.
Do you expect to break some records?
We do. I mean, the note in your hand was the first note to broach the $1 million barrier. So that was almost 15 years ago at this point, and now $1 million for a piece of currency is kind of old hat. We're expecting to do better. Some of these have never seen the auction market. They've traded privately, like that $2 to $3 million $1,000 silver certificate there in the front. Never at auction. A lot of these have never been at auction. They've been in prominent collections, one to the next. Several of them are from the Amon Carter collection. He was a big collector of coins and banknotes. We dispersed his coin collection in the 1980s. He was the owner of the Fort Worth Star Telegram in Fort Worth, big proponent of Fort Worth in Texas, and a rabid coin and currency collector.
Yeah, so forget baseball cards. It's all about collecting cash.
Yeah.
And last question, what if someone, stumbles upon one of these? What's your advice to them?
Bring it to someone that you trust, an auction house like ours. We can vet it for you. We can figure out what to do with it, whether you want to hang on to it for family, for posterity, or whether you want to cash out, and we can find the right venue and the right people to sell it to.
Do you guys get a cut?
We do. That's how we stay in business. It depends on the value of the object, but less for higher price notes and more for lower end notes, or currency or coin or anything. But we try to tailor it to the amount of work and the object.
All right, guys, there you have it. $10 million worth of bills here. The world's most expensive U.S. collection ever. All right, can I keep one? I'm kidding.
Just for
Thank
a few
you
minutes.
so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you, Jade.
it.